Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the SDV Law and Life podcast. Today's guest, we have Alexis James. She's a 20-year attorney with Wise Law, and she's the managing partner for that firm. And I've known her for a while, although we haven't spoken in a while, so I'm glad to be able to talk to her and find out what's going on with her. So, welcome, Alexis. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, same here. So, can you tell us about you? We'll start from there. Tell us what you do so everybody can know.
Sure. So I'm an employment attorney. I'm managing partner at WorkWise Law, and we do labor and employment defense. So half of my work is compliance-based, things like drafting employee handbooks, management trainings, talking through your everyday crazy HR situations. And then the other part of our practice is litigation. So when our clients unfortunately get sued, or there's a labor commissioner claim, or the EDD is auditing you, we get involved representing our clients that way.
Okay. And how long have your firm been open?
We're coming up on 9 years in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have a preference personally as to which side you like, which is the compliance part or the litigation part of it?
So my jam is advice and counsel. I really love talking to the clients, thinking through strategy. How do we reduce risk? I like it when I can help them before they get into trouble, before there's been a claim. So that's really satisfying work for me. Yeah, it's what I enjoy the most.
And the employers you work with, is there a certain size that you guys help with as far as the company goes?
So we can work with any size, but typically we're working with companies that have 5 to maybe 300 employees.
Okay. When does somebody need to know, hey, I need to talk to somebody who can help me set this up? What should they look for as far as, when that happens?
So as soon as you're going to hire an employee in California, the state is crazy with their regulations. So you want to just protect yourself, protect your business, make sure that you're doing everything compliantly. The wage and hour rules are really strict, and there's not a lot of forgiveness if you're just ignorant of what the rules are. So when you're ready to hire that first employee, it's good to just make sure you're doing it correctly.
So has the law changed at all into 2026? Anything new coming up?
Every year. Every year it changes. Yeah. So Newsom signs the bills in October, and then we start pushing out the updates. This year, there were some changes regarding AI in the law. And if you're using AI-based systems to look at your resumes that are coming in to determine how your applicants are being chosen for interviews, if the computer is discriminating, or causing a situation for you, you don't get to say, well, it was just the computer, it's not my fault. There's still liability to you, the human that's using that system, so long as you got to make sure you're doing it in a way that's not discriminating against your applicants.
So let me ask you a question. So let's say employer is using AI for that stuff. Do they usually keep a record of it that could be produced? Or
Yes.
Do they have to keep a record?
You should. So, if you're looking through your applications and you're making decisions on who you're going to interview, who's being offered an interview, or your notes about them after the interview, that should all be kept.
Do the applicants know they're potentially being looked at by an AI?
I don't know that they are at this point being asked.
At some point, I'm sure it's going to happen, huh?
Right. There'll be disclosures.
Yeah. So has AI changed in your field any other way or no?
Tremendously.
Yeah.
So what we're finding is that employees are using ChatGPT to write their complaints that they give to HR. So now they're getting all the buzzwords, and now you're starting to hear these much more developed complaints than we heard before. And, once those buzzwords are made, or the complaint is developed like that, the employer has immediate obligations to investigate, to figure out what the issue is. And so I think the employees are getting more savvy using these chat devices.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like that everywhere. I mean, I can tell when clients write to me sometimes and use ChatGPT. It's like, okay, I can tell certain words that they use, and the tone of it is not what regular people talk like.
Right.
That. Yeah.
When it's bullet pointed and it's highlighted, and you can spot it.
Yeah. So can you give us an example of a potential client that you may have helped recently, or one that comes to mind?
Sure. I helped, oh gosh, there's been so many different situations recently. I helped a business owner that was targeted by the EDD for an audit having to do with misclassification issues. So she had a lot of independent contractors on the books. She had gotten some bad advice from a previous manager who just thought they knew the law and thought that, we could have a bunch of 1099s on the books. And, the EDD can open up your records for 3 to 4 years, depending on the violations, and come back for back taxes, for unemployment, for UTI tax. So it's a scary note when the EDD comes knocking and says, give me all your financial records. Okay. So we helped. We're getting the situation settled. So there was an assessment for all the violations, and we're knocking that down with our legal arguments and helping resolve that case.
Okay. The penalties, I'm sure the penalties and the interest alone is going to be tremendous in some of these cases, right?
It can be, especially if it's a lot of workers over 3 years, people that come and go. Even if it's a very short period of employment, each person counts as an individual employee that can have penalties.
Okay. So how can people get a hold of you? They need help.
Carrier pigeon, no. Email, phone. Our office number is 818-591-6724. And our website is workwiselaw.com.
And you guys are in Calabasas still?
We're in Calabasas, but we work all over the state. We're licensed in California.
Okay. Yeah. I know. Especially nowadays, everything's done digitally and over the internet anyway. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. So what are the main problems that you see usually when compliance stuff? And what do people generally forget to do that always causes the problem? Is there a main issue?
Yeah, I would say I have kind of a top 10. I won't go through the whole list, but what I see often are people that get classified as exempt, meaning salaried. And there's 2 tests in California. One is that you have to pay them 2 times the state's minimum wage as their salary for them to be exempt. And the other part has to do with their job duties. So that's whether you're a manager. If you are managing 2 or more employees and more than 50% of your time is spent on managerial duties, then you'll likely qualify for this exemption. But sometimes people will just call someone a manager as their title, but they don't really have the job duties that will suffice for California's analysis. And the risk with that is if somebody is considered salaried, they're not clocking in and out, you're not paying them overtime, you're not watching their meal and rest periods. And if they were misclassified, they can then bring a claim for all of those types of things. And those cases get very expensive, not only for the violations, but the attorney's fees kick in if the plaintiff's attorney is correct in proving those violations. So that's an area where I see a lot of mistakes. I also see people bunching together their lunches and their rest periods. You're not supposed to bunch it all at once. So in the first 4 hours of work, there's supposed to be a paid 10-minute break somewhere in the middle, if that's possible. And the same in the second 4 hours of work, there should be a 10-minute paid break. And then by law, you have to give a half an hour meal period, no less than 30 minutes. That happens by the end of the 5th hour of work. So let's say your employee clocks in at 27 minutes and you haven't asked them, were you called back into work? Why didn't you take the full 30 minutes? It looks on paper like you have a violation. So then if there's a claim later, the plaintiff's attorney is, looking at all those times you gave 27 or 28 minutes. That doesn't look like a proper meal period. And again, now we see all these class actions and PAGA actions in California that get really expensive.
Okay. Let's say you have a salary employee. Do you ask them to write their times when they go on the break to clock in and out, or no?
A salaried employee, no. So as long as they pass the test, then you're not having them clock in and out. They're exempt from the overtime laws and the meal and rest period laws.
Okay. When you say pass the test, what do you mean?
So there's different classifications of exempt professionals. So there's the managerial, like I said, if you're managing 2 or more. There's an administrative exemption. This is somebody who is, let's say, the right-hand person to the CEO, who is really independent and not having to ask for a lot of direction. They have a lot of discretion to help run the policies and practices of the business.
Okay.
And the third is the professional exemption. So there's exemptions for certain classes of employees, like accountants, CPAs, attorneys, computer professionals. They might qualify for this exemption as well.
Got it. And what about people who act inappropriately in the workplace? Do you get a lot of those guys?
A lot of inappropriate behavior?
Yeah.
So I had one case last year where the employee had a really good relationship with the boss. They were very friendly with each other, a little bit inappropriate over text. And she said to the boss, "Hey, send me a sexy picture of you." And he sent back, thinking it was a joke, a picture that I didn't want to stand next to him in front of a jury and put this on a big screen and say, "This is what your boss sent back to you." Yikes. Yes. So even if you think you have the best relationship with your employee, I have a rule, and I tell this to my sons as well. Don't put anything in text that you wouldn't want your mother or a judge to read. That's my rule.
So when you see stuff like that, do you think it's more of a cultural thing or if it's a legal thing?
I think a lot of people feel like this will never circle back and bite me, or I have such a good relationship with this employee and they know I'm joking around. And, things can be fine for a really long time, but then, the boss makes a decision about pay, or they discipline the employee for, work performance, and the relationship sours. And then all of a sudden, these things that were joking at the time get used against you and can be quite expensive and embarrassing.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Okay. Now, when it comes to employer-employee relationship, is there are there like boundaries that employers should be aware of not to cross?
We've heard so much about the Me Too movement, right, in the last how many years. There's the way I tell my clients is think about the way you would speak to someone at a funeral versus the way you would speak to someone at a 21st-year-old birthday party. There's different tone, there's different subjects, and at work, there should be that same recognition that there's certain tone, there's certain subjects that should just really be off limits. The way you talk to your friends at a baseball game should not be how you talk to your employees at work.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. Yeah. No more being around the water cooler talk, huh? I assume.
We're human and things slip out. You have to know your audience. You have to know what's offensive to someone might not be to someone else, but you never know what someone's background is. You can make an offhand comment and it might really bother them.
I have to admit, I haven't worked for a big firm in almost 20 years now. The last firm I worked at like 30 attorneys, and obviously all the staff. So that was a little bit different. But nowadays, it's just me and my assistant. So it's a whole lot different work for me. But yeah, I can see those big firms, especially those firms who've been around for a long time, their culture still hasn't changed. So when you see a firm like that, what's the best strategy? Do you guys go in there and rewrite their books? Do you give them seminars? All the above? Some of the above?
All the above. Sexual harassment prevention training is required if you have 5 or more employees. It's required every other year. So it's really important that the business do that, go through that process, and that they have policies about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. And sometimes you have to talk to the different generations about, the way the office was 30 years ago is not the way the office is now. And you have to adopt this new way because you don't want to expose the company to liability.
Right. Now, I never watched the show Mad Men. Did you ever watch it?
You know what? I started watching it and I was like, this is so much like my work that it's not enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I don't usually like attorney shows, but I'm thinking to myself, man, that would have been something for you guys to watch.
Yeah. For me, it was like a law school, essay, like everything that you do wrong.
All right. So, setting all that stuff aside, what do you do for when you're not working? What are your hobbies and stuff like that?
So I have two boys that are in high school that play basketball and volleyball. So that's pretty much our life when we're in season. Is I go to work and I go to games. But other than that, we love to travel. If anytime I have the opportunity to travel, Costa Rica or Italy, I'm there.
Okay. I bet to Italy. Where did you guys go to Italy? When you guys went?
Gosh, it's been 10 years now. Yeah, we went for our 10-year anniversary. But I studied abroad there in college, and I just absolutely fell in love with it.
We're in Italy?
Yeah, I was in Florence.
We went to, when we did Trafalgar tour. We did, Rome, Florence, Venice. My favorite was Florence. I mean, if I had to live in a place like that, it'd be in Florence.
It's a pretty special city. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife, she's been taking Italian classes for years. So she's getting close to understanding what's going on.
Well, then you should take her back.
Yeah, we'll have to go to the southern part of it. We went to the north, but not the south. Have you been to the UK and England part?
Yes.
What part?
So my dad is British, and he just took us back 2 years ago to see where he grew up. We went back to his house where he grew up, and we were taking pictures outside. And this couple pulled up right as we were there. And my dad said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to alarm you. I grew up in this house." And the guy stepped out of his car and he goes, "I bought the house from your dad 50 years ago."
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Dang.
Great. Like, just the fact that we showed up at the same time, and he actually took us inside the house and gave us a tour, and it was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what city was it in?
In Wembley.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only been to London. And then I saw Bath. I loved Oxford. I saw Oxford for a day. Have you been to Oxford?
I have been to Oxford. A friend of mine studied there. Yeah.
Yeah. My son keeps telling me, I may want to go to, take classes abroad. I may go to Oxford. I go, I'll follow you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can take classes, like virtual classes for Oxford. I've looked into it.
Really?
Yeah. I may go to Oxford. I may still be able to go to Oxford after all. You never know. Have you ever seen Stonehenge?
No, we didn't make it there.
Okay. You have to see Stonehenge if you ever go.
I heard it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm one of those guys who, likes all the conspiracies with aliens. So for me, it's like perfect. All right. Hawaii? You been to Hawaii?
Been to Hawaii. I've only done the main island and Kauai. So I'd love to get to Maui.
Yeah, we go to Maui once a year. Love Maui.
You go once a year?
At least one. Yeah, past 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful.
That's like my second home.
Nice.
So, and I still kid with my wife. We're still trying to figure out what's going to happen when we retire. Are we going to move out of state, move to Hawaii? And we do kid around moving to the UK. We do all the time. We watch all the British shows all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially all the ones where, the countryside. They show all the countryside, and maybe.
What are you going to do when you retire?
That's the question. I don't know. I'd like to find out, but I don't know yet. I stopped years to go, but still.
Yeah, it's fun to dream.
Yeah, I know. Have you been to Scotland?
I've been to Edinburgh.
And my wife wants to go to Edinburgh really bad. Yeah.
Loved it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Ireland or no?
Haven't made it to Ireland, no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she really wants to go to Edinburgh. It's just, her background. We did the DNA test. She's got Scottish blood in her, so that's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So what is if you were to give just a general advice to employers out there, what would be your number one advice to them?
My number one advice is be a little proactive. So, when your employees are coming at you with different questions, if you haven't thought through your policies, you're going to end up being inconsistent. And that's when you expose yourself to discrimination claims like, oh, this person got preferential treatment, or I didn't handle it the same way for everybody. So spend a little time, work with someone, put your policies together, have a handbook. Everyone appreciates when they're playing by the same rules at work.
Okay.
So if you have something that you can rely on when an employee is asking you a question, that you're consistent with everybody, they'll respect that.
Got it. And obviously, talk to somebody like you, an attorney who does this for a living from the very beginning, because that would save your butt in the future.
It's harder to fix problems after they've happened or after
Yeah.
you've received that demand letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, on a personal note, I asked most of my guests, except for one I forgot. Let's say you were to meet your 10-year-old self today, right?
Okay.
Based on what you know today, what advice would you give her?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's a question that Adam would come up with.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Do what you love, because you're going to spend so much time, and no matter what job you have, there's going to be some element of stress to it, right?
Mhm.
And if you ultimately love it, the time will pass. You'll feel passionate about it. There's going to be those hard days no matter what you do, but do something that you really love. So, my kid's choosing his college path right now. He wants to do sports management. This is something I know nothing about, but he's passionate about it. So I'm like, go for it.
Does he want to become an agent?
He wants to be like a general manager of a team.
What's his sport? What sport does he like?
He loves hockey.
Okay.
Yeah, huge Kings fan.
Okay. Yeah, I don't follow. I followed probably the Kings once or twice. That's about it. And mine's the other sports, Lakers and Dodgers first, and then the Raiders.
Like my husband.
Ah, there you go. So
Yeah.
is he excited or not excited about what's going on with?
I don't know. I don't follow football.
Does he get mad when he watches the game?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So please tell everybody again how they can get a hold of you.
Thank you. So my number again is 818-591-6724, or you can email me. I'm Alexis at workwiselaw.com.
Okay. For anybody listening, it's a very good idea to talk to Alexis before you get into trouble. Make sure you talk to her. Make sure she knows that she's complying with everything, because you don't want to be that person who the ADD shows up and says, "All right, give me your record." You do not want to be that person. It's like
that's
being
a bad day.
indicted. Yeah, it's a bad day. All right. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today. And
My pleasure.
and for those of you who are watching, I hope you guys follow us and watch our next episode. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mason.
All right. We're done.